Well, it's one for the money, two for the show, three to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoe.
He was a 50s dreamboat.
You can do anything but take me over my blue suede shoe. Bright light said it's gonna set my
A 60s superstar.
soul on fire. Wise men say only fools.
A 70s tragedy. And in the 90s, he remains the king of rock and roll and of revenue.
5506.
Every year, Americans spend millions of dollars on their enduring fascination with Elvis. And that's just fine with the woman who divorced him in 1973, but still uses his name, Priscilla Presley. No one anywhere can produce something that has Elvis's name
That's
on
right.
it without your permission.
That's right.
That's a lot of control.
That's a lot. And it should be. It should be that way.
Elvis's child bride has learned a lot about control.
We're going to really expand the Moments line.
She's a multimillionaire in her own right, with a TV production company, a perfume line, and a best-selling memoir.
With all my heart.
She's appeared on the TV show Dallas and on the big screen.
Will you stay with me? Please.
But her greatest success has been creating a fortune for someone else, her child, taking charge of the financially troubled estate Elvis Presley left their daughter, Lisa Marie. She was only 9 years old when her father died in 1977. Were you surprised at how little was left?
Very surprised. Very surprised. I mean, I never got involved with his financial situation, and when he did die and we were allowed to see, you know, what was left and what was there, it was a shock.
He would give Cadillacs, just like everybody else would give away a tie at Christmas.
Well, that's all right, Mama.
His best friend, George Klein, says Elvis never thought the money supply would end.
He gave away homes. He gave away trips to Hawaii. He gave away cash money, just $10,000 at a time. Gave away jewelry that, like you wouldn't believe.
When he died, he left only Graceland and a few $1 million in cash. Taxes and upkeep on the mansion threatened to wipe out Lisa Marie's inheritance. Ironically, lots of other people were making money on the ghost of Elvis, even right across the street from Graceland. Weren't they at one point selling something that was supposed to be Elvis's sweat?
No, that's what they said. I mean, if you bought that, I'm sorry, but that, you know, that's your fault.
In the years after Elvis's death, Priscilla, as Lisa Marie's guardian, took control. She successfully fought for state legislation to ban the profiteers. She organized Elvis's treasure trove of personal belongings. Even his plane came home to Graceland. But her decision to open Graceland, Elvis's home and final resting place, was controversial. You got some resistance from some people about that, didn't you?
I got a lot of resistance.
Why?
It's almost sacred in a way that people look at Elvis and look at his home, which I can understand because I had those same feelings.
I had to explain that to quite a bit of the inner circle of Elvis's friends. Lisa has to live her life, and in order for her to sustain herself and Priscilla to sustain it for Lisa, it has to be run as a business.
Were you scared?
Yes, I was scared. It was a very, very big project to take on. Graceland was my home, too. You know, opening up Graceland was opening up my life as much as it was Elvis's.
Did you meet anyone special in Germany?
Not any special one. There was a little girl that I was seeing quite often over there, but it was no big romance.
Love me tender.
But in fact, it turned out to be a notorious romance. Elvis fell for Priscilla when she was 14 during his stint in the Army. Her father, an Air Force officer, was stationed in Germany. Within 3 years, Elvis convinced her parents to let her come to Graceland.
Sometimes he would drive me to school in a limo, which caused way too much attention. So I asked him not to take me to school in a limousine. I wanted to drive myself to school.
She eventually did start driving herself in Elvis's white Lincoln Continental, now perfectly restored and on display with the rest of his car collection, including the pink Cadillac he gave his mother. The purple one he drove himself.
Although it's always crowded, little sister, don't you?
For Priscilla, it was a topsy-turvy existence in a lavish cocoon, attending a Catholic girls' school all day, staying up all night with Elvis and his friends.
You look like an angel.
Elvis transformed the schoolgirl into an outwardly much older glamour queen, dictating her hairstyles, her clothes, her makeup. For Priscilla, it was all a fantasy, but most of all, it was fun.
We'd saddle up the horses and race out in the front and attract, all kinds of people on the front gates. He was a daredevil, and he definitely liked to scare people. I mean, he was like a kid. I mean, he loved to play. He wasn't the best diver. He did a lot of belly flops, and rarely did he make the dive that he bragged about. Well, that was one thing I could do better than he could.
I got a thing about you, baby.
5 years after she came to Graceland, they were married. The next year, Lisa Marie was born. It was 1968. Personally, Elvis had found happiness, but professionally, he was worried. The Beatles were hot, and Elvis's record sales had sunk to an all-time low. That year, Elvis made his famous '68 comeback special.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place.
I remember him being a nervous wreck
Looking for trouble?
that night that it was going to air. He hadn't appeared on stage, nor had he sung in front of an audience for years, and he was back on television again.
And back on the road. In the last 3 years of their marriage, Elvis performed 500 concerts. Priscilla was left behind.
Is your wife Priscilla with you?
No, she's not.
Maybe I didn't treat you.
The intense control of her life she'd welcomed as a teenager, she could no longer accept as an adult. She divorced him in 1973.
Didn't love you.
You lost your identity when you were around Elvis Presley because people only focused in on Elvis. She wanted to do things and to get out of that fishbowl situation.
They remained friends, but Elvis began spiraling down a path of self-destruction, overweight, in a haze of uppers and downers. On August 16, 1977, he collapsed on a bathroom floor at Graceland, dead at 42.
Stayed my case.
After he was buried at Graceland, Elvis fever only seemed to grow. Each year, 500,000 fans pay up to $16 each to tour his home. With the profits from Graceland and royalties from licensing, Priscilla Presley has secured her daughter's future. Lisa Marie, at 26, is a very wealthy young woman with a very low profile. Her focus, her marriage and 2 children. Do you see passing the business on to her?
She should have her own life and her career. If there's a time, that she wants to totally be, involved and have this only, it's there. I mean, we're in the meetings together. She knows what's going on.
Priscilla runs Elvis Presley Enterprises from Los Angeles. Surprisingly, her office contains no mementos of her life with Elvis. In fact, no hint of Elvis at all.
It gets in the way. It gets in the way of who I am.
She has a new life with 6-year-old son Neverone and his father, Marco Garibaldi.
I have to take in consideration their feelings. I have a son who's 6 years old. I don't want him coming into my office and seeing pictures of my past or, my life with Elvis.
For some people, you will always be the little girl with the beehive hairdo. How do you feel about that?
I feel okay with it. I don't have anything against it. I mean, there are some people who really hold on to those images.